Fremantle has some absolute stars on its list, but the Bulldogs are going to have to curtail one man, and his name is Caleb Serong, because, Chad, he is so critical to Fremantle's engine room and their flag hopes this season. What sets him apart in your mind from other midfielders in the comp?
Well, what sets him apart is that he's 24 years old. So I think we think about some of the best best midfielders. They are pretty young at this stage, but he's won a record equaling 4th Glendenning Allen Award for best on ground in the Derby.
At 24.
24 at 24. Like, you think about the greats that have been at Freo and West Coast, and he's obviously got the record at 24. But what sets him apart is actually his clearance work. So last year he was 3rd in clearance in the total AFL. So that just shows how important it is around the stoppage. And I think what's going to happen this week with Western Bulldogs, I mean, you spoke about James Jordan and about how he nullified players coming in the last few weeks. He was only one to get the job on Caleb Serong, and he actually kept him to 19 touches, 1 goal and 5 clearances. I think last week, obviously, Serong had 35 and 10. I think Bulldogs are going to have to put a little bit more effort into him. I don't think it's going to be a full-blown tag, but I think Liberatore is going to go to him at stoppages because he's such a dog, as you would say, for Western Bulldogs, bit of a pun of my own. But I think he'll go to him at stoppages and kind of nullify him at that stage.
And I mean, someone like a Tom Liberatore, I mean, I feel like, Josh, we don't talk about him enough. He's leading the club at the moment in Marcus Bontempelli's absence. He's just no fuss. He goes about his business, but he's still one of the more elite midfielders in the competition, and he's getting on in age.
He is now. This could be his last year. He's out of contract. I reckon he goes around again. He's playing that well right now. He's only behind Jordan Dawson in the coaches' votes. He's polled in all 3 games to start the year. He's probably been best on ground in the past 2 weeks. And with no Marcus Bontempelli, he has really relished the leadership title. And this is something that we didn't know he had in his armoury. When you think about it, no one ever spoke about Tom Liberatore as a captain, as a leader. He was vice-captain last year, and right now as a stand-in skipper, he is dominating.
So the game between Fremantle and the Western Bulldogs also sees 2 coaches who entered season 2025 under a lot of pressure facing off against each other. Bulldogs coach Luke Beveridge isn't contracted beyond 2025, and he's been surprisingly open about his future in the media in recent weeks.
Will you be at the club next year, do you think? In an ideal world, are you coaching the Western Bulldogs in 2026?
Well, possibly. We've taken probably a week-by-week approach to what the future might look like. You can still almost wear out your welcome at an establishment as well.
Possibly. That word really just piqued my interest. Chad, from your perspective, if you were a player hearing your coach talk like that in the media, what goes through your mind?
Well, I think from an outside source, I think it's very strategic by Bevo. I think he's, maybe sussing out what's next, but also maybe putting, Bulldogs on notice that you want to get this job done. Maybe he wants to stay there. But from a player's perspective, I think it doesn't give you great confidence, especially when the team's playing probably out of their skin in terms of the injuries that they've had without Bond, without Chalor. Jones missed a couple of games. It does concern me if you're a player, you're hearing that. I mean, those conversations should be kept in the 4 walls.
He's a career coach, though. So if he's not coaching the Western Bulldogs in 2026, he's coaching somewhere else. He has coached for the best part of 25 years now, dating back to St Bede's Mentone in the Ammos. We know that story, of course. So I think he'll coach somewhere else if he doesn't coach at the Western Bulldogs.
Well, he's got a very strong relationship with Fremantle's CEO and Simon Garlick, who used to be at the Western Bulldogs. Read into that what you will. And we talk about Justin Longmuir, who's also had the pressure on. And Josh, he's got a 50% win rate. He's on that rolling contract now as a full-time employee, which I don't think takes the pressure off at all. But when it comes to Fremantle, they need to see results because the time for talking is over. They need finals wins, and that's why the heat is on him.
Well, they got the result on the weekend. They were desperate for a performance.
It was against West Coast.
I know that. This is a much bigger challenge for them. They're going to come up against an informed team, and we need to see a performance that really says that they're going to be a finals contender this year, because right now under Justin Longmuir, in his 5 completed seasons, they've only played finals once. They played 2 finals back in 2022. We expected them to play finals last year. We expect them to play finals this year. 1 and 3 is a long way back. So if they're 2 and 2, they're back on track.
There are so many layers and storylines amongst this game, which makes it such an intriguing clash. Cannot wait for Sunday.